Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll talk about the Kansas City Royals, quick recovery from their six-game losing streak. We'll talk about the ongoing NBA and NHL playoffs, at least a little bit anyway. But we'll start today's show with bit of a recap of the 2025 NFL draft that happened last weekend. Mike, the Kansas City Chiefs have restocked their kind of hit a lot of their player needs, I think, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But first, we'll talk about maybe general
Okay.
draft stuff. So maybe what did you find more interesting from this draft? Like was it something like the early trades that we didn't really expect to see? Like even at the number two spot, maybe throwing a wrench into some people's predictions, or the fall, like the free fall of Shedeur Sanders down to the fifth round, or just kind of the general draft as a whole. I don't know, what did you find most interesting?
I guess I did find some of the trades interesting. The Chiefs made a few trades actually in the draft, including the first round where they traded down one spot with the Philadelphia Eagles, but picked a player that a lot of pundits were thinking the Chiefs might select if he was still there. It was Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State, who was maybe some people thought maybe a top 10 to 15 pick if he hadn't been injured. He had the patellar tendon tear or something like that. They kept saying torn patella, but I don't think you can have a torn patella since and if it is torn, that's pretty serious. I think if somehow your bone gets torn,
Tear a bone,
uh,
yes.
yeah, um,
Unlikely that you're tearing a bone, yes.
yeah, you can break it usually. But I think
Crack it, fracture
patella,
it,
yeah. But it seems like
tear it.
maybe similar to what maybe Mahomes suffered. But I guess his tendon wasn't torn; his kneecap was simply dislocated. But uh,
Hmm.
so anyway, that was Josh Simmons. So maybe was a an interesting pick, maybe because he also signed a tackle in the off season. Um,
Well, from San
Jalen
Francisco, right?
Jalen Moore, the offensive tackle, who was the backup to um, Trent Williams. So maybe he's the new right tackle of the future if they think um, that Juwan Howard or Juwan, not Juwan Howard, Juwan
Taylor.
uh, uh,
Yeah.
is not maybe long for the Chiefs. He's been expensive and uh, error prone, I guess you could say, penalty prone with the Chiefs. So maybe,
Yeah.
but I think he's a big salary cap hit, so they're going to probably keep him this year, but maybe next year we'll see. But there's still Wanye Morris out there. There's still Sumataiya that's out there, but it seems like he's moving to guard. Um,
Yeah.
but they're throwing a lot of stuff at the tackle positions.
Right.
So hopefully that one of them will stick. But I guess we'll talk more about the Chiefs, I guess, a little bit. But back to the most interesting part of the draft, I think it was the Shedeur Sanders fall. Not only that he fell to the fifth round, but also that so many other quarterbacks were taken ahead of him. It wasn't just like last year where all the quarterbacks went in the first round, and then it was like Spencer Rattler was the first one to go, like in the fifth or fourth round or something like
Fourth
that.
or fifth. Yeah,
There
something
was
like
a
that.
big
Yeah.
there was a big gap. Here there were, not only the teams trade up to pass up on Sanders, but they selected Jackson Dart in the first round, but Sanders was behind like he was like the sixth or seventh quarterback taken, and he was taken all the way in the fifth round. It seems like a lot of players. Do you think it was the that Sanders was overrated? Or does it think that Sanders was just a bad interview? You think it was the Dion connection maybe that soured a lot of teams? What do you think went wrong with Shedeur Sanders? Was it simply that he took too many sacks as a quarterback? What do you think was the problem with Sanders?
I think it was probably a lot of it's just difficult, it being difficult. I think it seemed like he didn't. I don't think he did any of the workouts or like the Senior Bowl type games.
Hmm.
to give people like a direct look at him. I don't think he did like direct workouts for anybody. He also had, I think, his dad for his agent, so that wasn't going to be easy. I think he also said like he had like teams that he was not going to sign with, even if he was drafted. It's like a do not draft list. So I mean, it does seem like there probably was maybe some kind of maybe not collusion, but kind of collusion amongst the league to not
Or just
draft him
agreement, maybe.
specifically. But yeah, like you said, like not only did he fall in the behind other quarterbacks in the draft, but he was even the second quarterback drafted by
The Browns, yeah, he
by
was. They
Cleveland
took they took Dylan
in this
Gabriel
draft, right?
out
So
of
yeah,
Oregon, and Gabriel was, according to the ESPN, the 10th rated quarterback. A and he stood a one of the quote pocket passers we might call him to go along with
oh, but which version of pocket passer, Mike? Though, which are we talking about? The
he's
the one person that fits into a pocket,
yes,
or like is a statuesque quarterback?
the diminutive pocket passer, Kyler Murray or Bryce um, Young, pocket passer.
Yes,
And
so
uh,
that version.
yes,
But being the second quarterback taken by one team is that's somewhat rare, especially
yeah,
for somebody that was expected to be at least potentially a first round pick. That's quite a free fall.
yeah, yeah,
It seems unnaturally far though, really, if it isn't some kind of purposeful or
yeah. The Browns
uh
did trade up to get Sanders too, so they traded up to get. So it seems like maybe they just wanted volume at the backup at the young quarterback position, but they already had. I thought they got rid of Dorian Thompson Robinson as
who
a
they
kind of
seem to like actually, right?
yeah,
So
but then they brought in Kenny Pickett instead of DTR. Now they have Flacco and Pickett kind of at the top of the list. And who knows what they're going to do with Deshaun Watson. He's still on the roster. He's still owed millions and millions of dollars, I think. So I don't know what they're going to do with him.
I think
And
he's maybe injured right now too, right? Is that
yeah, yeah. The comps for ESPN's pro comp for Dylan Gabriel is Kellen Moore, who is, of course, not known for playing quarterback now, but he is a coach in
right?
the NFL. Then Kellen Moore, he is the head coach now of the New Orleans Saints. He was the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys and the Eagles, I think. But yeah, he's the head coach, um, Kellen Moore. So that was what Dylan Gabriel's comp was. Kellen Moore was never more than a backup quarterback in the NFL. And Shedeur Sanders' pro comp was Jared Goff, which is, a solid quarterback, not one of the best quarterbacks. But yeah, so Shedeur Sanders was the one, two, three, four, five, sixth quarterback taken. And the
Seem
second,
odd that a team took two of those in the top six though too. There are other
well,
teams that we thought were expecting to take a quarterback at some point, but did waited
we
till
thought
later.
the Browns
Like
were going to take a quarterback maybe early, but
yeah,
some people thought maybe they'd take him in the first round, Shedeur Sanders, but they took him in the fifth round. But in some ways, the you were talking about this before we went on the air. The Browns traded out of the second position to the Jaguars. And the Jaguars selected Travis Hunter, who is one player who plays two positions, and then the Browns drafted two players who play one position, and only one player can play at a time. And those aren't even the players who are probably going to play this year for them. So it's a little odd that I think their draft, again, it's not surprising because Cleveland is not known for its savvy or its, spectacular drafting ability or management ability. Usually Cleveland's usually one of the worst teams in the league. And they've never won a Super Bowl, never been to a Super Bowl in 60 years of the Super Bowl. I guess they weren't around for a few years when they moved after they moved to, when they promptly moved to Baltimore. Baltimore wins a couple of Super Bowls. Um, but those technically aren't the Browns. Those are the Ravens. They're a different team. The Browns are the old Brown. They decided to keep the old Browns name and in records and stuff like that, even though they're an expansion team from the late 90s.
Yeah,
Um,
which also doesn't make sense. Really.
yeah, but yes. So
How can they have a history that spanned past the 90s, right?
yes,
When they only started in the late 90s.
yes, yes. Jim Brown did
No
not
sense.
play for the team. Yeah, but the Dylan Gabriel pick was really strange. I think, especially uh, given how good people thought that Gabriel was, and which was not that good. At least ESPN didn't see him as a very good quarterback. He was their 10th rated quarterback behind later drafted Will Howard, former K-State turned Ohio State quarterback, a couple other guys that got drafted later. But
Who did go to Pittsburgh, right? Isn't that where Howard ended up?
yes, yes, Will Howard
We
went to Pittsburgh.
we both had Pittsburgh drafting a quarterback in the first round, and they waited until the sixth round. So, what do you think that does for like for Pittsburgh? Do you think that's a sign that they are going after somebody else in free agency, like an
Well,
Aaron Rodgers type, or do you
I
think
think they
it's
need Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the same. We have a little bit of the same issue with the Saints as well, since uh, they didn't draft a quarterback in the first round. Did the Saints end up getting?
well, they did take a pick in the second round, Tyler
Oh,
Shuck.
Tyler Shuck. Is that his name?
Yes,
Schuff? Schuff?
Shuck, I think is what they said on
Uh,
TV.
Shough. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did take a pick in the second round. I had them taking a quarterback in the first round. I had them taking
So
Shedeur actually in the first
So
round.
Tyler Shuck started out at Oregon, where he was the backup to what quarterback?
I don't know.
Justin Herbert. So he's old.
Oh,
Justin Herbert's
oh,
been in the league.
oh, that's right. They did say he's going to be like 26 or something on
Yeah, so they took an
this season.
old guy for, yeah, who's older than like 10 of the NFL quarterbacks who've already been playing.
For
Uh,
like several years,
yeah, yeah, he is
which is pretty amazing.
25 right now. He'll be 26 in September, so most of the NFL season he will be 26 and he will be a rookie. He played 7 seasons in college football. Started out in 2018, 19, 20. He played for Oregon for 3 years, Texas Tech for 3 years, Louisville for 1 year. He basically had one season as a starter where he was any good,
Yeah.
full-time starter. And yeah, that makes no sense to me. I think that's a terrible pick.
Well, then
He's
for reference then too, you know, Trevor Lawrence is like a month younger, 2 months younger than
yes,
Tyler Shough. Yes.
Trevor Lawrence too much younger. Yeah,
Four
yeah.
he's four already has 4 full NFL seasons under his belt. And
Trevor
yeah,
Stuck is big. He's fairly athletic, but I think it's just that he's toolsy. I think that's the only reason. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. He ran a 4.63 40, so that's pretty fast for a quarterback. But
for a big quarterback too. That is pretty
yeah,
fast.
yeah, but he doesn't, you know, he's just not good, I don't think. That's the problem. Even looking at Shedeur Sanders's stats, Sanders is 3 years younger, almost 2.5. Oh, he's born 2002. He's 23. Sanders is a little bit old, but Sanders at least has played 4 seasons as a college full-time college starter. Uh, He's thrown 134 touchdown passes to only 27 interceptions. Uh, 2 years at Colorado, 2 years at Jackson State. So even if you don't like him that much, he's at least he's somebody who's who is both younger and has more experience in starting and starting way more games than Shuck. So I think yeah, he's on my board as the worst quarterback pick to me. Maybe actually maybe second worst because I think the Browns when they picked Dylan Gabe like when they picked this quarterback ahead of Shedeur Sanders, why that seems to be crazy too.
In that order, does it make sense, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you could grab Shedeur now because somebody else might take him, and then you'd still have the ability to pick up Gabriel later because nobody else wants him that early anyway. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, who's where did Shuck fall on that uh, quarterback list pre-draft?
He was fourth. They had him fourth.
Okay, so he only fell. I mean, he actually was only picked one early then, I guess, right?
Yeah, they
Maybe
had
the
him
third
number.
quarterback taken then.
Yeah, I would have taken Jalen Milrow way ahead of Shuck, though. I think Milrow is very athletic and was, at least projectable, I think, in the NFL.
Where
At
did Milrow
Alabama,
end up going?
he went to the Seahawks,
That's right.
where I think he's got a chance to start. Um, so Sam Darnold's there. Actually, they brought Drew Lock back to the Seahawks for some
Right.
as the backup, and then Milrow they brought in. I think that's a better. He was drafted. Um,
Third round?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, third round. Um, the Seahawks had drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players in the draft. So they're really retooling. That was a lot of players.
Yeah, well, I guess we knew they were making a lot. We've been talking about them a little bit this off season,
Mhm.
with letting Geno Smith go, and then kind of some of their wide receivers were also out the door too, were they?
Yeah. So yeah, let me ask you a question. So ESPN uh had needs before the draft for each team,
Hmm.
and only so far four teams, let's see, maybe more. Let's see, hold on. Only five teams, excuse me, five teams out of the 32 picked a player for each of the needed positions.
Really?
Can you guess which teams they are? Or any
Well, I think you just said that Seattle picked 11 players, so you think that would be a good chance that they
you
would
would think
want
you would think so, but they did not pick what they thought
just
they
by,
needed
just
was
by
a
numbers game.
yeah, ESPN thought they needed a center and an edge, and they did not pick either out
Hmm.
of those. But they did pick a guard but they needed a guard, they said, and maybe they could use them they needed every offensive line position according to ESPN. Um,
Yeah, so yeah, you can't use the maybe they drafted a guy who was a guard, but they have him playing center, but then that leaves means they didn't draft a
guard,
guard, right?
yeah,
So that doesn't count, yeah. Unless they drafted two guards. But no.
yeah. Another team that had 11 draft picks was the Baltimore Ravens. They did end up picking every position of need.
Yeah. How did our Chiefs do? Were they one
They
of
were
the
also
teams?
they were one of the five teams. And they had five positions of need, and they picked only had seven picks, and they picked all five positions according to ESPN anyway. So that would be one of the more solid drafts. New England was one of the other teams. Washington was another, and I can't remember what the fifth one was. But yeah, it wasn't so the Chiefs with only seven draft picks, basically, yeah, picked all the players that they uh, needed. And although they waited until the last pick finally to pick a running back, that was Brashard Smith. So they were said to need they were said to have needed a edge, defensive tackle, cornerback, running back, and offensive tackle. And so they picked Ashton Gelati from Louisville as their edge in top of the third round. They picked defensive tackle Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee at the bottom of the second round. Cornerback, they picked in the third round Noel Williams from Cal in the middle of the third round. They traded to get him. Um, Running back, they got Brashard Smith, as I mentioned, out of SMU in the seventh round. In offensive tackle, of course, they got Josh Simmons in the first round. They traded down one spot to Philadelphia from the 31st to the 32nd. Well, did you think that was an odd trade? The 31st, they ended up getting a fifth round pick out of and they picked Jeffrey Bassa, linebacker from Oregon, with that fifth round pick. One of the positions of not need that they did. They actually had seventh round picks going into the draft, but they traded up and traded a couple things away I think, to get different players. But but according to ESPN, at least, they tried to cover all of their needs, which is
Right.
something that's pretty good, I think. And,
Yeah.
and all of the other teams that drafted to cover all their needs, I think that I've seen have way more picks. Uh,
Yeah.
New
I randomly clicked on Green Bay and looked like they were also one of the teams that had all of their needs filled in the
Yes.
drafts.
Yeah, Green Bay was the other one. That was Washington and New England were the other two.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, what did you think of the Chiefs draft then? Anybody you know on this list, or anything you're excited about, or
I knew they
is
were
it
looking
is
at
it?
Simmons. I knew they were looking at Simmons.
Yeah,
Knew that people thought that Simmons maybe was a top 10 to 15 pick if he had not been injured. But
and I
I have,
think on our boards we both had him already off the board by the time the
yeah,
Chiefs
we
picked.
did. Yeah, we did. I thought he was going to be off the
Yeah,
board too. And they actually successfully traded down one and got him. So I think maybe the injury issues maybe scared some teams, or teams weren't really looking at tackles in the first round. Um,
yeah.
and
Were there a lot of tackles drafted? I think there was at least one taken earlier. Yeah, Will Campbell was taken fourth overall,
then
and then Boo.
Embu was taken seventh, then ninth, but then waited all the way to 29 for Josh Connerly, and then Josh Simmons was fifth, the fifth tackle taken at 32, which is
Yeah.
not too bad. Um, it seems like the tackles were high. There weren't any tackles in the middle of the first round. It was all high or end of the first round. Um,
But that is quite a few tackles taken. If there's five taken in the first round, that's only
mhm.
one position making up like 1/6 of the league, and that's of the first round at least. And that's there were a couple teams that had more than one pick in the first round. So
Yeah, and there were three guards taken in the first round, which is a little bit unusual.
I
Uh,
think that's mostly just a sign of how important protecting the quarterback is. In the
yeah,
league, too. It's not just the quarterback himself, but also protecting that quarterback that's at least pretty high on the list of all the
yeah.
team's needs.
But only three centers were taken in the whole seven rounds.
Seems crazy to me.
I guess they think they're going to move a lot of people to center. I guess you only have one center. You have two guards and two tackles,
Yeah,
but you only have three. One in the third round, one in the fifth round, one in the seventh round taken. So maybe sometimes you move guards to center, um,
must
or
it must be something like that.
yeah. So I think that's the fewest. Uh, there was one punter and one place kicker taken, each one in the sixth round. I think there was a bet that there might be a punter. I think I had said I'd pick the over on the round. I didn't think any punter would go before they had like fourth or fifth was like the over under or something
Man,
on
I
it.
remember now. Yeah.
And I didn't think that was going to be that high. So I was right. There was one long snapper taken in round seven. That was by New England. Um, and those are the kind of oddball positions.
Who did take the kickers? Were they also
Yeah, it was just
Raiders?
one kicker in the sixth round, or actually two kickers in the sixth round. Andres Borregales taken by the Patriots, and Tyler Loop taken by Baltimore, perhaps as a potential replacement for the star-crossed, if you want to say, or uh, nar- you know, uh, you know, issue, or he's being dragged down by his um unseemly exploits with massage therapist Justin Tucker, but that the Deshaun Watson-esque scandal
Right.
maybe he is involved in, but it hasn't been nearly as there hasn't been nearly as much publicity with Justin Tucker as there has been with Deshaun Watson. Maybe that will change, um, but yeah, Tyler Loop.
Hmm.
Um, Loop was also Arizona's prime. He was both uh, the place kicker and the punter for Arizona, so maybe he could also play punter. Um, but the punter of only punter drafted was also the sixth round. That was uh, by the Broncos. They drafted an Australian punter, Jeremy Crawshaw, as his name. I've
Ball
never
shot.
Crawshaw. Uh, he was punted at Florida, but Australia.
Interesting.
So they like Australian punters sometimes in the league.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you pull from the Australian rules football
Hmm.
uh, player pool, then like basically everybody's a punter because that's sort of how they move the ball is through kicking. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, basically everybody's a punter potentially.
true. I didn't look at fullback. How many fullbacks do you think were taken?
Maybe one,
There was zero fullbacks taken
zero.
here.
It's like the fullback position sort of like really been lost, I
The,
think,
the
in the
dying
NFL.
position, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's just not part of the current offensive scheme of any real. Yeah, maybe outside of a few individual plays, but I guess that doesn't seem like somebody you have to draft specifically
no.
anymore. Yeah, interesting. What did you think of the maybe somewhat of an oddity of one team selecting two wide receivers from the same college?
Yeah, that was odd. The Texans both picked Iowa State wide receivers in the second round. They picked Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State, and in the third round they picked Jalen Noel. So for second and
One
third round,
round later.
yeah. So they picked both Iowa State guys. Jaden Higgins is the prototypical big size wide receiver, 6'4", 214 pounds, and Jalen Noel, a smaller guy, 5'10", 194. I think Noel was more prolific in stats than Higgins was, but I think he's
Higgins, and
more projectable. Um,
then they'll both join former teammate Xavier Hutchinson, who's already on the team in
mhm.
Houston. So they'll have three Iowa State wide receivers in their now maybe overcrowded wide receiver room.
Yeah, Iowa State
Do they?
had a pretty good draft
Yeah,
overall too. They got a lot of players drafted. But yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting.
It's been a big change the last several years. The draftable Iowa State player has become an actual thing now. It's fun to be an Iowa State fan and see guys getting picked up in relatively early in the draft, even too,
Yeah,
not waiting
Iowa,
till later or getting picked up as a free agent, as an undrafted free agent after the fact.
Iowa State had a offensive tackle drafted in the fourth round. They had I don't know if they had any defensive guys. I'm looking through it right now.
And
Uh,
the defense was a little bit weaker this year than in the last several years, but
looks like at least they had three players drafted.
yeah,
You
I had
know,
I had pretty high hopes a couple years ago when the Chiefs picked up one of the Iowa State linebackers, Mike Rose.
I remember
He,
him.
he got a little bit of playing time in the preseason that year, but then they released
Yeah,
him.
he's where
Yeah,
Jack Cochran kind of took his place, I think.
yeah, yeah,
Where's where's Jack Cochran from? He's from some North Dakota State or something.
yeah, something like that.
South Dakota State. South Dakota University of South Dakota is one of the Dakotas.
One of those Dakotas.
One of those the Division One FCS schools.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the draft was interesting. We'll see how the Chiefs integrate their drafted players with their current roster and how that looks and who's going to be a starter, who's going to be a quality backup or contributor. So yeah, I think yeah, we'll see what happens there. Any other draft stuff we want to cover before we move on to the NBA or NHL playoff discussion?
Maybe just a couple notes on the on our picks in the
Okay.
our mock drafts anyway. We didn't do too badly. I think we both seem to maybe rely a bit on PFF for our position rankings and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, we did okay compared to the the so-called experts. I think only what Kuiper ended up getting like the first seven picks right, but then after that it was pretty much a crapshoot. Uh, what do you think in general of the draft so-called draft experts, Mike? Do you find them that they know any more than anybody else knows, or do you think it's more of just that they have ears in different teams, maybe offices somewhere where they have like an
Yeah.
idea to what they're actually thinking directly rather than just like reading about it like we can have access to, maybe reports that come out of places like that too.
Yeah, it's kind of a circular thing. Like you wonder, do teams look at Mel Kiper or other draft experts and pick players because of that, or do those draft experts pick those players because they know what the teams want? I think the Pro Football Focus, the just the list. I think Kuiper had a list as well. With that was just a list, but and some of the other draft guys do. Uh, but I think it's those lists are really better in terms of who's the better player, and because we know the teams often are idiots when they pick players. Maybe it's just because it is a crapshoot, but also I think I don't think the teams will want to say scouting is a more exact science than it is. And I wonder, we've often talked about this, would a team just with no scouting at all do as well as a team with lots of resources devoted to scouting because all you need is a subscription to Pro Football Focus, and you can follow most of the players, and you can see who's high up, who's not, and we talked about this with the Royals. You just need a Baseball America subscription to see who the top prospects are. Maybe not
Just
every team
when your term comes up, just take the guy that's highest listed, and
highest available,
seems
or
like
maybe what the highest at the
yeah.
position needs you need a team, something like that might work out just
With
as
baseball,
well.
like the what do you need at the major league level in 5 years is like what you're looking for, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
you don't even know,
it doesn't
but
really matter. Just take the best available guys. You can move them around too a little bit. Like yeah, the
well, you
Royals
might,
move guys around once they get to the majors. They don't even move them around
yeah.
before they get there. They just wait until
I
they get up there.
I guess you might think, well, we need pitching or we need hitting more. That's about it, and
Yeah.
that's about as I think that's. Or if you have like, oh,
Right.
we have maybe we have a glut of outfielders in the system as already we want, but you can trade those guys for other people too. So I think you should just draft your best. But you also, I guess, in the major league bat draft, you do want to fill out your lowest minor league team. So you need to draft a few different positions. You can't draft all catchers, for example, or draft no
Right.
catchers. You'll need
Right.
somebody to stand behind
Now,
it.
now you could probably draft all shortstops or all center fielders because most of those players can be they're
Anything.
athletic enough that they can play other positions
They were the
besides just
best
that
players in
one.
their high school teams and
Yes.
or college teams usually, and they could, a lot of them probably pitched on their off days, um,
Right.
too. So
So you might be able to get away with that and
yeah,
then still field the team, but
that's a little bit the way the
probably
NFL
not the best idea in general.
like yeah, like the NFL teams like to draft former high school quarterbacks. Lots of teams, the Chiefs I think have done that famously with Kelsey and some of their players that were quarterbacks in high school. They like because they think they have a more cerebral approach to the game and kind of know what's going on a little bit better than if somebody's played defensive line their whole life or
The Royals have a tendency of drafting quarterbacks as well, right?
yeah, the Royals have a better until Mahomes. they had a better track record of drafting quarterbacks than the Chiefs did. They had, I believe, drafted both Dan Marino and John Elway, uh,
That's
in,
right.
and so they
Ah,
drafted two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Where I guess the Chiefs now have caught up, and well, they didn't draft Lynn Dawson. He was a free agent
right.
pickup from Pittsburgh. Um, so the Chiefs, I guess, only have drafted one future Hall of Fame quarterback. Probably not too early to say Mahomes is a future Hall of Fame quarterback, uh,
He's
given his track.
getting into that near lock
Yeah, he's already
phase
won a Super
already.
Bowl. He's already won three Super Bowls. That's going to be a lock, I think.
I
Um,
think so.
multiple MVPs, multiple Super Bowls. Um, so I don't think I think
Yeah,
if he retired now, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. Um,
you think.
it seems like the last couple of years maybe I've actually heard his Hall of Fame changes because he hasn't had the stats that he did in the previous season. So but hopefully, maybe with this draft, and you know, but I think maybe we're both thinking that the Chiefs, it's not the Chiefs' personnel issues, it's maybe their scheme and coaching issues that maybe are hurting the offense more than uh, anything else. And maybe I know you think the return of Matt Nagy perhaps is a problem the Chiefs have, but it seems like Nagy is still going to be around. They had a better offense when Eric Bieniemy was running things than with Nagy, but so we'll see. We'll
And
see
it,
what.
and it crushed my hopes anyway when the enemy became available again, and the Chiefs didn't at least bring him in to be a consultant of some kind, right?
Yeah, where is Bieniemy now?
I think he ended up signing to be like some college level, but not like even at the same position. I think
Oh,
it's like a weaker role
he
somewhere,
was
wasn't
he
it?
was the UCLA offensive coordinator last year, but now he is the Bears running backs coach again.
Oh, I don't think I even knew that.
Yeah, that's what they said. He's recently hired as the Bears running backs coach.
Yeah, see, that's a step down now. He was
The
an offensive
new
coordinator
Bears
for
head
a
coach
minute.
Ben Johnson hired Bieniemy to be the running backs coach.
Hmm.
So
I think he signed on to be like at Washington or Washington State or something as like a consultant there for a while, and then
may have he was at
that may have just been
UCLA.
like an interim thing even. So maybe he didn't actually even go there.
Yeah.
But like towards the playoffs last season in the NFL is like when they he said he'd taken some kind of position, but now apparently he's moving to Bears instead.
Hmm.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, good for him, I guess, but I'd rather see him get a head coach.
Yeah.
Seems like he was due one. I don't know. It seems ridiculous that he didn't get a shot at a head coaching job.
Yeah. You thought maybe at least in college he'd get a head coaching job.
Yeah,
Uh, but maybe again, it's recruiting. Now it's just recruiting, and it's a constant recruiting because with the NIL situations and the transfer portal and all that stuff.
transfer portal. Yeah,
So I don't. Yeah, it's a different world, but um, yeah. So the Chiefs will have. I guess we'll see what happens as the off season wears on. The Chiefs did pick up the fifth year option in other Chiefs news for George Karlaftis and
not
um,
surprising.
yeah, uh, and Trent McDuffie. Both of them have been solid. So fifth
Yeah.
year, they were both first round picks 4 years ago. So the fifth year options have been. I guess this will be their fourth year.
This will
Uh,
be but they always announce like a full year early
a
if they're
year
picking up
early.
the option. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that seems a little strange too, doesn't it? That they do it that early.
I guess it's yeah, but I guess you have to, and you have to plan ahead, and you want to negotiate down the road for a longer term contract. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
well, moving, you want to move on to the NBA and NHL playoffs. Both
sure.
of them are ongoing. There haven't been, I guess, too many surprises yet. No team, at least as of tonight, has yet advanced to the second round of the NHL playoffs. Although several teams are winning their series 3 games to one. Um,
Carolina is still candidates. They're now in a second overtime.
Second overtime. So Carolina is up 3-1. They could defeat the Devils and go up 4-1. But most of the other series are are not yet. None of the other series are completed yet. The NBA is a little bit farther along, at least in terms of because we had some sweeps, and we've we had the Cavaliers and the Thunder both one seeds sweeping. The Celtics won a series 4-1. This is a number two seed. The Pacers also won 4-1 as a four seed over a five. Those are our teams that have advanced: the Thunders, Cavaliers, Pacers, and Celtics. It seems like the Lakers may be the biggest upset. They were a three seed in the West, losing to the Timberwolves 3-1 so far. Anything stand out to you in the NBA playoffs? Are you surprised about the Lakers maybe being bowing out early, even though they do have two of the top, well, what maybe still two of the top players in the league? An aging LeBron and then still young Luka Doncic.
But that aging LeBron is playing pretty good still though. So it's not like
Yeah.
he doesn't seem to be aged, I guess, but aging still, yes. But
Like,
they're still pretty new together, him and he and Luca. So it's maybe one of those things where they just haven't had enough time to gel as a team to fit together. And I don't think they're super deep either, which makes it also difficult. But they also have a first year coach. I don't know. Did you hear that they made no substitutions in the entire second half in the last game to try to like even the series, but then ended up going down 3-1? No
hmm,
substitutions for the entire second half, like.
wow.
But and apparently they some hit somewhat of a wall midway through the fourth quarter then as I don't think they had a field goal or something in like the last several minutes of the game, possibly because they were worn out from having played the entire half with no breaks.
Yeah, and they did have one of the play-in games too, so that's another game that they had to play. Um,
Yeah, for an aging team.
Aging. Yeah, LeBron's been.
Maybe not the best to have them play so many extra minutes in these
Well,
playoff
I
games.
guess
Yeah.
you kind of save them during the regular season as much as you can. So you
Right.
got to play him as much. But yeah, LeBron has been, yeah, he's averaged 41 minutes a game in the postseason so far. He's averaging more 26.3 points a game, 9.5 rebounds a game, fewer assists than he has in the regular season. So maybe that's a little bit of an issue. But um,
I think that's probably just because Luca's there now, though, right?
yeah,
So the most
that's
most of the
that's
season, it would have been him and Anthony Davis. So he's probably
yeah,
distributing the ball more early in the year, and then late in the year, it's more probably Luca distributing the
yeah.
ball than he is. So
Although
I think
Luka
that's
is
I think
only
that's expected,
Well,
honestly.
Luke is actually averaging fewer assists than LeBron is in this postseason. So he's only averaging five. So his assists are down. He's averaging a few more points. So it seems like it may have just been the LeBron and Luka show. There haven't been a lot of contributions from the other uh, players. Uh,
Yeah, and apparently no reliance on the bench if they're not going to even
yeah,
play during the
yeah.
second half.
For
So they're
example,
they're not a deep team.
yeah, Dalton
That makes it
Knecht
really difficult to win.
has been averaging only 2 minutes a game. He averaged almost 20 minutes in the regular season. He scored 9.1 points per game in the regular season, only 2.5 in the playoffs. So,
It turns out it's very difficult to score points from the bench, Mike.
yes, uh, yes,
It's still difficult.
still very difficult.
They haven't figured out a way.
Yeah, yeah. Austin Reeves hasn't played particularly well either. He's averaging three fewer points in 5 more minutes of playing time. So you'd think that there's more minutes, they would get more points in a game. But yeah, it's three. It's only I guess it's been a small sample size, but um, yeah, I guess and then some of the games have been pretty close, but the
Close, weird officiating, stuff like that. Yeah, it's been yeah, more talk about things that you probably don't really want to as a league hearing people talk about after the game. It's not about the performance of the players, but like the officiating or injuries that are taking teams
yeah.
out of the playoffs, stuff like that. That have been dominating at least the conversations around the games. so far, but I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, we'll find out what happens with the NBA. We'll see if the number one seeds cruise like they have so far, whether they'll run into more resistance as series get a little tougher going forward. But yeah, so that's NBA, NHL playoffs. I'm the Capitals are still in it. They were up 3-1 over the Canadians. That's the series I'm following the most closely. So maybe by the time this airs on Thursday, they will have won their series, but 4-1 over the Canadiens. Uh,
What's your just a general guess here, Mike? Will a Canadian team win the NHL Stanley Cup this year?
no, that's my
Still
guess
no.
because
Still no.
they usually don't,
It's
but
been
it's
a long
possible.
it's been a long time.
Yeah, Winnipeg. Let's see yeah, we have some. The Jets are the number ones. So the number one seed, two of the number one seeds in the West and the East are Canadian. So in the playoff seeds remaining, we have the Edmonton Oilers, uh, the Winnipeg Jets. So only two teams are Canadian in the Western Conference. Um, and
We have two Canadian teams playing each other in the East, I believe.
yes, and we have two teams playing each other. So there are three teams in the East: the Maple Leafs, Senators, and Canadiens. But two of those teams are number four seeds, which are the lowest seeds possible, because the way the little pod system works in the NHL. Um,
Right.
we have four number ones, four number twos, four threes, and four fours. But yeah, right now the yeah, Maple Leafs are playing the Senators, so one of those Canadian teams will have to move on. So we're guaranteed one Canadian team in the quarter finals or the conference
When
semifinals, whatever you want to call them. Um,
breaking news though, Carolina has won and advanced
ooh,
to
they're
the
the
second
first team.
round.
They won
So
5-4
first
in double
first team
overtime.
in.
First team in, yes.
Yeah.
So they will play the winner of the Capitals Canadiens series, which I hope will be the Capitals.
Yes.
Um,
We do have a commanding 3-1 lead at this point. So,
yeah, yes. Well,
but not
uh,
a guaranteed lead, but yes.
Yeah, speaking of teams that have come back from deficits, the Royals have amounted a solid, if not winning streak, but winning, solid week of mostly winning. They won five out of their last six games. They're now 15-15 on the season, having defeated Tampa Bay Rays 3-1 today. What do you think about the Royals coming back? Are they playing better, or are they just getting a little luckier with the way their runs are being scattered, or is just the pitching has been so good it's just it's carrying the team?
It's definitely the last thing that you mentioned there because the pitching has been spectacular this last week. They had two nothing shutouts of the solid Houston Astros this year. Uh, just in the last week. So and then yeah, like you mentioned, the 3-1 game today. So they've done all this by this recent like comeback stretch. Against possibly the worst team in the history of baseball, Colorado Rockies, with 3-game sweep there. But they also won a couple games against Houston too. So that's and Tampa, who's a decent team too. So I think it's a mix of bad teams and at least decent teams. So they're not, I guess that's positive, but the offense still hasn't really woken up yet. But they've done just enough. So are you still
Yeah.
worried about the offense, or are you feeling more confident about them? They are hitting a little better. So is that enough for you to be not worried as much, Mike?
I'm worried about the offense because I was worried about the offense going into the year. They didn't seem to get any big bats. I think their only hope really for getting somebody is via trade or having Jack Caglione come up in later in the year. And who knows how solid he would be in his first year anyway. But
Right.
I am also a little worried about the pitching because Cole Reagans has been hurt. He's not going to make his next start because of his groin issue. He has had um, two consecutive starts where he's only pitched 4 innings or less. He's allowed 9 runs in 7 innings in his last two starts. So he's not himself. lately. I don't know how long it will take for him to battle back, but he's going to at least miss one start. So that's a little bit concerning, especially with the lack of because the Royals have the pitching has been good. Lugo's been good. Lawrenson's been good. Bubic uh, and has been
Yeah.
good. Well, Waka has been all right.
He went had his deepest game this last week. Also, he pitched 6 innings.
Yeah.
I think was that just a couple days ago. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. Lugo, it seems like he's not a it doesn't seem like things are he's not a flash in the pan. He's had a solid game, but I am a little surprised that uh, Bubic is leading the team in ERA right now. At least the starters in ERA, which is
Right.
so. I don't know what's Brady Singer doing out in um,
He started out really strong. Like I
Cincinnati.
think he won his first 3 games, uh, and had a like three an ERA around 3. I think his most recent couple of starts have been not quite as
Yeah,
strong,
he's
but
still 4-0 on the season, 3.62 ERA.
not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. 4-0 is pretty good, especially on a team that's only right around 500. Aren't they a couple games over? Yeah, 16 and 13. So his 4 wins are the difference between them being a losing record versus a 3 games over 500 record, Mike.
Yeah, because those pitcher wins are all always they always tell the whole story.
It's the most critical statistic of all 4 pitchers.
If this were 1982, we would say that probably. But things have changed over the last few decades. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm worried a little bit about the Royals, but they're riding the ship. But yeah, they need to score more runs. Maybe once the weather gets warmer. I guess it's been warm though, kind of in Kansas City, right? Off and on.
It cooled back off. It's I think it's been in the 70s. It's about the warmest it's been in the last couple weeks. But they had a game in the Colorado series. It rained out, even though they decided just not to start it because of the threat of rain, and then it like didn't rain for the first hour of the delay, and then they just went ahead and called it. It's very stupid, Mike. What do you think about rain delays when it has yet to begin raining?
Well, I guess if you think they're only gonna be able to play an inning or two before it starts to come down, maybe you want to wait. I don't know. The Royals did win that series, so I guess it worked out well for the Royals because they did win. They did win. They swept the series and they swept the doubleheader against Colorado. So
Yeah,
it worked out for them. But yeah, it's a little. The
right,
old baseball men would not be happy with it. I guess we could say.
right. You play through it, unless it's like crazy lightning or something. But you found an interesting stat though about Salvador Perez and his doubleheader prowess.
Yes, I did. I have to remind myself, I sent it to you. Salvi is one of the career OPS leaders in doubleheaders in Major League history, with a minimum of 150 plate appearances as in doubleheaders. He's basically in a statistical tie with as the number one player of all time in doubleheaders. He is tied with Babe Ruth and Luis Gonzalez. He actually slightly outranks Babe Ruth and slightly is behind Luis Gonzalez. Each of them have a 1.159 OPS in doubleheaders. Mark McGuire is fourth with 1.148, and Ted Williams is fifth, 1.143. So I guess it seems like Luis Gonzalez and Salvador Perez are the odd men out, I would guess, in those categories. Although you think maybe Perez is a kind of borderline Hall of Fame candidate if he keeps getting it. If he kind of increases his counting stats in the last few years, maybe
Yeah,
he'll be able to get in. But Luis
I
Gonzalez
mean,
was pretty good, but he had those steroid. He was the steroid guy. It seems like probably
yeah,
uh,
but
as
he had that heroic World Series walk-off win though too
yes,
in what was it 2001?
2001. I think yeah,
What? Yeah, I
yeah.
think 2001. Diamondbacks. He's like blue pit. He was
Yeah.
the drove in the winning run, right?
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, and Luis Gonzalez, he has a lot of hits. I think he was considered to be a steroid guy, so I don't think he was ever that close to being the Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Um,
But solid player for a long time.
solid player for a long time. Yeah. Uh,
Is he a Diamondbacks Hall of Famer? I would guess maybe. I'd say yes. If I'm just guessing from outside the organization.
he is
Does
Diamondback Hall of Fame.
yeah.
Yes.
Specifically
His number is
because of that World Series heroics,
yeah.
right?
His number is retired as well.
Oh, wow, yeah.
There are actually only two members of the Arizona Diamondbacks Hall of Fame. Who is the other one besides Luis Gonzalez?
Is it Randy Johnson?
It is Randy Johnson.
Okay. Also from that 2001 World Series team. Not Kurt Schilling, though.
No, not Kurt Schilling. But it's funny that if you look at the Diamondbacks Hall of Fame, uh, neither of those players played for 10 seasons for
Hmm.
the Diamondbacks. Luis Gonzalez played from 99 to 2006, so that's 8 seasons. And then Randy Johnson played 99 to 2004, then 2007 to 2008, so 8 seasons as well. So because partly the Diamondbacks haven't been around that long, but and players change teams a little bit more than they used to. But you would think,
Yeah.
uh, they would.
Was it 99 when that team started?
I think it was
Did they start? No, it was Tampa
90,
and Colorado
98,
came in like
98,
93.
98
98.
they
Okay.
started. Yeah.
Yeah.
The franchise was established in 95, began play in 98 as a
Yeah.
expansion.
Gotcha.
Started with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, as they were known.
Hmm.
Now they're the Tampa Bay
Oh, it
Rays.
was Colorado and
Florida Marlins,
Marlins.
Miami
Yeah, they came in
Marlins.
together. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But
Then Florida, now Miami Marlins.
I remember those early Tampa Bay teams that were basically washed up slash older, grizzled, kind of disgruntled veterans like Jose Canseco and Vinny Castilla and who else played for those early Devil Rays uh,
Hmm.
teams? Wade Boggs. There was kind of these old guys that played. That's they like the I think the it seems like the Diamondbacks tried to build like younger guys more, and then the Devil Rays tried to play old guys more, at least early in the um, season.
Let's see who was on that first team. Fred McGriff.
For McGriff, yeah,
Uh, everyone's favorite player, Quentin McCracken.
Quentin McCracken,
Yeah, Wade Boggs is there. Paul Sorrento.
Paul Sorrento.
Yeah, it's not really a murderer's
Nin-
row of players here.
I think 99 they got more of the let's see 99 they had Jose Canseco, Jose Guillen, uh, Wade Boggs was still there. Fred McGriff was still there. Um,
Oh, Jose Guillen was there too, even.
yeah.
He
Um,
was one of the worst Royals signings, I think, ever, right?
when did Vinny Castilla join the Devil Rays? Maybe 2000. Yeah, 2000.
Oh, Bobby Witt Sr. was on that team.
Oh, they had Jose and Ozzie Guillen at one point.
Oh,
Ozzie Guillen was old by that point too. Fred McGriff still around there. Yeah. Greg Vaughn was there on those teams. Uh, yeah, that was after. So I guess Vinny Castilla and Jose Canseco maybe didn't overlap as much. Dwight Gooden was a pitcher on the 2000 Devil Rays as well.
wow.
Uh, yeah.
I didn't remember he would have still been in the league then even. So
Oh, yeah, Jose Canseco was there. Jose Canseco and Vinny Castilla were on the same team. I remember watching those. Greg Vaughn. Yeah, those like aging, uh, this yeah guys. Um,
yes.
I remember watching. I remember them when they played the Royals. I had good seats one game, and I could got close to seeing the sort of surly bunch that was the late '90s, early 2000s Devil Rays.
I can say though, from the 2000 Rays team, they had pitcher Brian Ricard as a starter. Well, I had actually seen his major league debut with Colorado. I went to a couple games in Colorado
Hmm.
one year and actually saw his major league debut game, Mike.
Wow. You remember where you were when you saw it? Yes.
Doesn't everyone remember watching Brian Ricard's major league debut?
No, I don't. I was not
Ah,
there, but I'm glad.
weird.
I'm glad you. I hope you kept your ticket stub because that's going to be worth something someday.
It's somewhere. It's in a box somewhere, I'm sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ryan Ricard. Uh, did you know that he played for the Royals in 2002?
I'd forgotten that. That was that early 2000s was sort of
He played.
a
Yeah,
bit of a black hole for me for watching Royals games at that time. It was because I
yeah.
was
He made two.
in Iowa and not didn't have easy access to watch games there. As we talked last week about the ridiculous blackout radius
Major League
uh,
Baseball.
for baseball viewership outside of the area,
Yeah, yeah. Ricard.
inside the area.
Yeah, Ricard made two starts with the Royals, allowing 12 runs in those starts. Uh,
Not great.
not great. And yeah, so, um, well, we have any other Royals tidbits or news we want to talk about, or should we wrap up this week's episode of the Warren Shark Power Hour?
I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, I think we've said enough this week as well. We need to leave something for next week. Well, we didn't talk about any of our pop culture uh,
Hmm.
um, you know our tangents this week as like we did some weeks ago. So this has been a fairly on topic episode of the Warren Trick Power Hour. So some of our fans might like that. Some of our fans might be dismayed by our efficiency and depth of sports conversation this week. But to each his own, as the saying goes. But or says each his own, as they say in Godfather Part 3, which means says each, of course, meaning sausage, his own. That was one of the songs that was sung at the um, congratulatory banquet for Michael Corleone in Godfather Part 3. Have you seen Godfather Part 3?
I still haven't seen it yet.
It's a good one. I think it's better.
Nope.
I
No
I think
spoilers, Mike.
I think the newest version, the Coppola restoration, is worse than the original Godfather Part 3. So
Really?
I would watch the original version rather than the newer version
The
because
theatrical release.
the theatrical release I think is better. I think they cut out some good scenes. They did reorganize a few things. They did make it a little bit. They cut out a couple of the bad acting scenes of Sofia Coppola, but
Hmm.
I don't think it improved the movie. I think they cut out some good stuff in the movie.
Hmm.
Uh, the opening was very different. The ending was
Well, it's
different.
on. Usually they have like an extra. They would add stuff to it rather than take away
Yeah, I think
scenes. That's a bit strange.
yeah, I think they kind of cut it in a different way. Maybe they added they streamlined certain things. It was yeah, I didn't like it as much.
So
I
they were trying to like correct some like issues that like fans had with the movie then to try to make it more popular to people that rated it lower compared to the other two
It may
movies. Is
have
that what?
been. I'm not exactly sure what the impetus for changing it was, but I preferred the original release to the Coppola new cut, which they call the death of Michael Corleone. Although they call it the death of Michael Corleone, but Michael Corleone does not die in the new release. He dies in the original release, but does not die in the new release. I'll tell you that much.
Hmm. So do they still call it?
He dies at the very end. He dies an old man at the very end. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah.
I didn't assume that he was immortal. I didn't. That's
Yeah,
not something I would have
they
assumed.
retitled it "The Death of Michael Corleone," but that was odd too because he doesn't die in the new version, so it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me.
That seems crazy.
But I did reveal a spoiler there, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's
Now there was already a re-release of a season finale, I guess, of a show from just like a few weeks, a few month, like a month ago or something. Was I think we may have mentioned before, Mythic Quest is
like I think we did mention that, I believe, on the air.
yeah, Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
His like Silicon Valley-esque
Mhm.
comedy show about a group group of people working on a video game, developers that they the show ended up being canceled, I think, after they had finished filming and released the season, and then they canceled the show. So they recut the final episode, I guess, in a different way to
To make
make
it
it
look
a series finale rather than a season
season.
finale.
Oh, I
So
see.
that's kind of odd to have like a re-release of an episode
They didn't. They took
just
away
like
the.
a few weeks basically after
Yeah.
it had been aired. It's not like decades after, or like the George Lucas Star Wars re-releases, where years and years after it was released, they came back with new technology to try to like add scenes or something like that, but they couldn't do in the original with like the budget they had or the technology they
Yeah.
had. So, but it seems odd to have re-release an episode of a show
I guess
weeks
they got
after
rid
it
of the
aired.
cliffhanger or something, maybe part of it, or
I think they just made it more final, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't quite know. But I just know that it has already happened though. It just seems bizarre that there's yeah a
Mhm.
re-release of an episode seems strange.
Well, we
And
will not re-edit or re-release this episode. We'll keep it in its original state for eternity. We don't have unless I don't think unless we have a remastered edition coming up in several years. I don't think we'll do that. I think we aren't going to be a George Lucas and continually tinker with our product. We will just do it a little better each and every week, but we aren't going to go back and reimagine, relitigate what has already been said and done on this. So this is a wrap on this week's episode of the One Track Power Hour. You will see it and listen to it in its entirety. We will not change it. You have our guarantee. So when you go back and rewatch and re-listen, like I know all of you do, it will remain the same. So you and your children and your children's children on YouTube can always listen to the same episode of the One Track Power Hour, no matter what year, decade, or galaxy you are viewing this from. It will last forever, and I'm sure travel through the deepest into the deepest confines of space and time.
it will hold up perfectly because
Yes,
everything we said will be true then as it is now.
it will be attached to the Voyager spacecrafts of the future, uh, um, stuff like that.
Yes, hopefully.
Well, on that note, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the One Trick Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our YouTube channel and or our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms. So we appreciate your viewership and your listenership. We also wish you the very best of luck this weekend and this week if you're making bets on the NHL or NBA playoffs or the MLB regular season. Any of those, we wish you the best of luck as long as your interests do not conflict with ours, and we don't really have that many interests going on right now. So you're in a good position in that realm. So. Again, we wish you the best this week. And uh, as always, Dr. Scaff and I bid you a good day.